This trinomial that you're looking at, 2x squared plus 7x plus 5, is the answer for a multiplication of two binomials. And the way I taught people how to do it, it works every single time. Sometimes teachers talk about whether or not you have a coefficient in front of the x squared, you do it one way, or if you don't have a coefficient in front of the x squared, you do it another way. They might call those like type 1 or type 2 trinomials. I think that's just too complicated. Multiply the coefficient in front of the squared term times the constant. Now, sometimes the number here is 1. That doesn't mean that you do this differently. It just makes it a little bit easier. So 2 times 5, well, that equals a positive 10. Now you need to come up with all the factors of positive 10, 1 times 10. A lot of people forget that. You have to include this 1 times this number itself. Over the years, I've just made it a habit to always start with the 1, like I'm counting up 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's another way to get a positive 10, and that's if you take a negative 1 times a negative 10. Again, it's habit. I know I start with positive 1, and then I'll do the negative 1. 2 goes into 10, and that's 2 times 5. And negative 2 times negative 5. All of these are factors of a positive 10. What was the point in doing that? You are going to take this trinomial, and you, instead of having 3 terms, you want to have 4 terms. You want there to be 2 terms in the middle, and let me show you why. We're going to have 2x squared plus something else plus 5. The two things in the middle, when you combine them, are going to equal the 7x. So the next thing to do is to figure out, well, what numbers do you put? Well, you're going to choose numbers from this group that you just listed, and it's whatever combines to equal 7x. 1 and 10 combine to be 11. Negative 1 and negative 10 combine to be negative 11. 2 and 5 combine to be 7. Bingo! That's our winner. But just to show you, we'll keep going. Negative 2 and negative 5 combine to be negative 7. So I'm going to put a 2x here and a 5x here. 2x squared plus 2x plus 5x plus 5. And we are going to do factor by grouping. Look for common factors in the 2x squared and the 2x. What's the largest thing that you can pull out of both of those? Well, that's going to be 2x. 2x times x gives me 2x squared. 2x times 1 gives me 2x. This plus right here comes down to here. And now we're going to factor the back end. I can take a 5 out of both of those. So 5 times x plus 5 times 1. You know you did it right if the thing that comes out in parentheses is the same. That's your goal. You want that to happen, because I know I can use distributive property, pull that out, and what I'm left with is 2x plus 5. For this problem, I'm going to show you why this worked, and I'm going to do that by multiplying this out. And look, there's that 7x popping up right there in the middle. And what we're doing when you're factoring, you're doing the multiplication process backwards. I'm not going to multiply them all out, but you always want to do that as a check if you're not sure if what you got was the right answer. Okay, for this one, we're going to start by multiplying the 3 times the 10. And I know that equals a positive 30. Now we come up with all the different ways you can multiply to get a 30. You're going to get faster at this because you know you're going to be looking for an 11. We know it's 1 times 30. We know it's negative 1 times negative 30. 2 times 15. Negative 2 times negative 15. Yeah, I'm going to leave the negatives off. I hope you're following that. If you don't get it, ask me a question in the comments, but I don't want to take like forever to do this. 3 times 10. 4 doesn't go into 30, but 5 times 6, I think that's it right there. That's the 11. So yeah, our numbers that we need are 5 and 6. 3x squared plus 5x plus 6x plus the 10. And remember, we are taking this 11x and turning it into 5x plus 6x. We didn't change the value, it's still just that. Then we do factor by grouping. And what comes out of both of these, 3x squared and a 5x is just an x. So that leaves me with 3x plus 5. The plus that's in the middle comes straight down. Now I factor the 6x plus 10. What can come out of both of those is a 2. That gives me a 3x plus 5. 3x plus 5 appears in both terms. And that's being multiplied times x plus 2. Question you might be asking is, did it matter whether I put the 5 first or the 6 first? Usually not. It should work either way. Here's that one where some teachers are going to say this is a different kind of problem, but I always taught it that no, you just know that there is a 1 as a coefficient in front of that x squared term. So do it the same way. Then you have fewer methods to remember. So 1 times 16, that just equals a positive 16. And we are looking for a positive 10. So I'm going to go through this a little faster this time. 2 and 8 is 10, so you were probably way ahead of me on that one right there. So let's rewrite, and then we'll do factor by grouping again. The common factor in both of those terms is the group x plus 2, and that's being multiplied times x plus 8. And again, also how you write these doesn't matter either because it's multiplication. Let's see what happens when you start bringing in some negative numbers. We do the multiplication, it's still a positive 2 times 5. That's still a positive 10. So this is just like the problem we did right away, except the middle number is negative 7. It has to multiply to be a positive 10, but it needs to combine to be a negative 7. So we have negative 1 and negative 10, which combines to be negative 11. So that's not going to work. 10 is also negative 2 and negative 5. And there it is. This is the combination of numbers that is going to work. Now when I rewrite these, I'm going to be a little bit more careful on this one. I know it's supposed to be a minus, and this is where things can get really kind of confusing with the signs. So I am still going to do my plus boxes here and then pop the numbers in because that'll be easier for you to see what's happening on this video. So I have negative 2x, the negative 2 comes from here, and a negative 5x. And I write it like this on purpose with the plus minus. You may not have to do that, but when I'm first showing this to people, it just seems a lot clearer to them. Then when I rewrite that, we have 2x squared plus a negative 2x plus a negative 5x plus 5. And again, I'm being very careful because of these signs, because a lot of sign mistakes happen right in here. All right, now think about what can you take out of a 2x squared and a negative 2x? Well, we can take out a positive 2x. And what we're left with for the first one will have to be x, because 2x times x is 2x squared. But then you have to think, well, what do I need to multiply times a 2x to get a negative 2x? Well, that's just negative 1. Now that you have x minus 1 here as a grouping, you have a clue as to what's going to happen on the next one. Then we put the plus. That plus is this plus right here. Now, what do you pull out of a negative 5x and a plus 5? We're going to take out a negative 5. And the reason I knew I needed to do that is because I need to have a positive x in this spot so I can match the positive x that's in this spot. And then what do you multiply times a negative 5 to get a positive 5? Well, that would have to be the negative 1. And the common factor in both of these is x minus 1. If you're real careful with the first grouping and you know what's supposed to come up in the parentheses, the second grouping gets a lot easier. And our final answer then would be x minus 1. The rest of it, which would be the 2x minus 5. Okay, now another situation happens when one of the numbers you're starting with is negative. 2 times negative 5, and that gives me a negative 10. So we have negative 1 times a positive 10, or a positive 1 times a negative 10. We have a positive 2 times a negative 5, and a negative 2 times a positive 5. Let's combine these so we can see which one is going to be what we need, which is a positive 9. Negative 1 plus 10, well, there it is, right off the bat. And just so you see for comparison what the rest of these are going to be, negative 5 and 2, that's a negative 3. Negative 2 and a positive 5 is a positive 3. So there could be other problems where you might use one of these others, but for this one, we're going to use that one. So 2x squared minus, now I'm going to go a little faster this time. I'm not going to do the plus minus. I'm just going to go with minus 1x plus 10x minus 5. Before you go any further, just do a quick mental check to make sure that if you put those two in the middle together, that you would get the positive 9x, and you do. So let's factor by grouping. What we can pull out of the first group is just an x, so we're left with 2x minus 1 plus, and then on the back end we can take out a 5, 2x minus 1. The 2x minus 1 is the common factor. and the x plus 5 is the leftovers, so that's our final answer. And the last situation can happen where you have everything inside is negative. This one is the trickiest one. We do them all the same way, we just have to be really careful with signs. So we have 2 times negative 5 again, which is still negative 10. Didn't change from the last slide. You could keep running through them, but we know we're looking for a negative 9x, and it is right there. This one is the positive 9. Now I'm going to be super careful here, and I'm going to show you why. I can go 2x squared plus 1x minus 10x minus 5. And I'm going to just give you a hint, and this is not a rule, this is nobody else's rule, this is just me learning from experience, is that having a negative right smack here in the middle when you know you're going to do factor by grouping is a real tricky situation. So what I would prefer to do is to rewrite this so I have a plus sign there, and then I go with the negative 10x minus 5. That way, when I go in to do my factor by grouping, I have this beautiful, nice, safe plus sign right smack in the middle, and I don't have to worry about it. The signs will take care of themselves. We'll see when I pull them out. So in the first group, we can take out an x, and we're left with 2x plus 1. And in the back end now, I can take out a negative 5. I'm also thinking ahead a little bit, knowing that it has to match this guy. So if I just put a 2x there, does negative 5 times 2x equal negative 10x? Yes. Now without thinking about it, put the plus 1 and check your work. Is negative 5 times plus 1 equal to negative 5? And it is. So you can take some shortcuts in your head with the second grouping. We know that the common term in both groups is the 2x plus 1, and we know that the leftovers are x plus a negative 5, which I'm going to write as minus 5. All right, to get better at actually multiplying these binomials, watch this video next.